that is a very welcome 3 points.
Yeah, very, very important 3 points for Sevilla, and they hope that that will mean that they are starting as they mean to go on, finishing this game with 3 points. Okay, let's just get a little bit more reaction to what we start. I mean, it's been pretty eventful for that opening game.
Yeah.
Sevilla against Rayo Vallecano. We know there's drama behind both of the sides. Luis, for your namesake, Luis Garcia, this is a very, very important 3 points regardless of how it came about.
Yeah, exactly. For Sevilla and all the situation that they go between the fans and the board, it was a must-win for Luis Garcia to start well the season. A lot of problems also during the preseason. They had a few good games, but the early on the season, if you were playing at home, what you want is to start like this. Last year they struggled so much to try to stay in La Liga, and this year what Luis Garcia is trying to do is to make it solve. They brought a few players. I think Guridi today. There is one of the new players did a great job playing first as a second striker, and in the second half better on as holding midfielders, being creative and helping the team on the distribution, on the build-up. Luis Garcia has got a lot of work to do, but you could see that the depth on the squad today, it was very important, bringing on in the second half another 2 players that they just arrived to Sevilla. One of them, Vargas, probably on his way out. There's been a few rumors about him leaving the club. There are going to be a few offers, and that's what Sevilla is trying to do. He's trying to bring young players from the academy or quality and talented players, but I don't know if that is going to be enough to maintain the stability of the club. So very important 3 points. And on Rayo Vallecano, the problem is still there. They managed to do an amazing job last season. Going to be difficult once again to make that the miracle, because with all the problems they got with the stadium, the fans and the board once again, there is a lot of problems inside there. So I'm not sure if the players are going to be able to maintain it during a long season.
For me, that's not a foul.
So Rayo were robbed.
Yeah, you could say that, but then Sevilla had a penalty wrongfully disallowed later on in the half. And I know it's not like for like, and going 2 up changes the game, and getting a penalty to make it 2-1 again changes the momentum. So it's not an exact science, but if you're Rayo, that's an opportunity split.
Yes, Luis Garcia, thank you so much for being with us. We no doubt hearing a lot more from you as La Liga unfolds, match day 1 and match day 2, because we're seeing quite a few games in a mixed up order right now. Stick around with us, we'll explain it all to you.
First of all, I am very proud of my players, because we did an enormous effort, and this is something that I have to say about my players. We start very well the match with 1 goal after our pressing. That is our identity. And after, obviously, we are very frustrated, because finally 1 point is 1 point, is something positive. But when you lose because 2 penalties in the last moment, it's very frustrated. So this is the point that we don't like, no?
Here he is, the man himself, Sid. What a game that was at today to open the season in La Liga. So much drama, big refereeing decisions. Talk us through some of the big moments and what the reaction was like afterwards.
Yeah, and a fantastic reaction as well. That was the main thing. The Sánchez Pizjuán, which is a great stadium when it's really up for it, when it's in the mood. And by the end of today, they're in the mood. There were a few frustrated moments in the first half, of course, when they had the penalty that was given to them and then taken away. There was a feeling they didn't play particularly well in the first half, but in the second half, they improved dramatically. Actually, it was interesting speaking to Luis Garcia, the Sevilla manager, after the game. He said that Rayo had surprised them with the way that they'd approached the game and the way that they'd applied the press on the Sevilla team. So he said at halftime we had to change the system, not just the players, but the system, to really go at them, to really find a way of getting hold of the ball. And I thought they largely succeeded in doing so, albeit it took a couple of penalty decisions. And the second one, at least, live, I thought was a very, very clear penalty in the last minute. And then watching the replay, I thought it was significantly less clear than I thought at the time.
What does the result mean then, Sid? Because we talked about going into this game, how both teams have a lot of drama going on in the background. For Sevilla, how important those 3 points are, given the way last season finished for them, they found themselves in a relegation battle. And for Rayo, under a new coach and with all the problems they've got going on with their stadium, what does a loss to start the season mean for them?
Yeah, I mean, starting with Sevilla, I think one of the things that Luis Garcia was really keen to do in yesterday's press conference before the first game of the season was to say to everyone, look, we have to look at this from a point of view of reality. There's going to be a handful of youth team players in the first team. We've only got 17 first team players available. We're at least 3 or 4 signings away from where we want to be. We don't have the kind of money. He even made the point, he said, look, this isn't just us going to first division clubs and then them telling us a price and us going, oof, we can't play that. It's us going to second division clubs and asking the price for a player and then thinking, oof, we can't pay that either. So he's trying to get people to see a reality, to say, look, don't expect us to be anything more than a team that's fighting for survival. And if we have that attitude, we will succeed. We'll be able to do it. But we can't go into this thinking we are better than we are, and so we have to fight. And so I think today's 3 points will be really important, because as he made the point pre-game, these points are worth as much as they are in the week 12, week 32, or week 38. From Rayo Vallecano's point of view, well, as you heard there, Beñat San Jose talking about how he feels that they're playing reasonably well. He wants them to be a little bit more direct than in previous seasons, but they know those difficulties they had. That said, they've known those difficulties for years now, and they live with them. So if they can overcome those, if they can make that something that brings together the squad and the coach and the fans, maybe against the ownership of the club, but brings them together, then perhaps they can find a solution on the pitch.
Okay, good stuff. Were you surprised there when you just saw Sid's interview with Rayo's coach at how measured he was, given some of the decisions that didn't go his way in this game?
Absolutely. I thought he could feel very hard done by, kind of given how things played out over 90 minutes. And well, to Sid's point or Luis Garcia's point, that these 3 points mean as much now as they do in week 12 or whenever down the season. These losses, as difficult as they may be to take, sting just as much now in week 1 as they do in week 12, as they do in week 32.
Do you think Wenger would have dealt with that, Kieran? Arsene Wenger.
Oh no, he wouldn't have been happy with that. That was a robbery, to be honest, I have to say.
Yeah, tough for them. Sid, something else we saw was new players making a difference for Sevilla today. We saw Guerreri step up and take a penalty and make a difference. Tell us a little bit more about Robbie Orr as well, a Scottish player, coming on and drawing the foul that led to that penalty.
Yeah, during the foul, I mean, we can watch replays back and decide whether it's a foul or whether he goes over a little bit too easily. And I must say, live, I thought it absolutely was a penalty. And then watching the replay, I have to say, I think it probably wasn't, although I'm still a little bit unsure about it. He's really exciting from Sevilla's point of view. They spent a lot of money on him. They were talking about 7 million euros for a club that really doesn't have the money. They really like the profile of striker that he is. They think he's a different type of player with a presence in the area that they haven't got. A guy that scored 20 goals in 20 games for the Swedish league leaders at the moment, and has played really, really well. Has been playing, of course, the league since February, so in theory is in a good position to get up and running. Although Luis Garcia post-game was saying that, you know, he felt that he was kind of looking around and a bit overawed by it all. He said, look, this guy's had only 1 training session and doesn't speak much Spanish. And so knowing when to run, knowing when to hold, knowing what movement to make. He said there's moments where Osso gets the ball on the left wing, and he says, and Robbie doesn't know is this guy good at crossing with his left foot, or is he going to have to turn back? So you don't know about the timing of the run. So it will take a while for him to be the player that they want him to be. And who knows, maybe he won't get there. But they're really excited because they think the skill set he's got justifies them paying the kind of money that, in truth, this club can't really afford to pay at the moment. And so there is a real excitement about him.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing more from him, and no doubt Craig Burley and Stevie Nicol will be interested to see how he fares at Sevilla as well. Sid, thank you so much for being with us. We're glad you got a very dramatic one for the first game of the season. We look forward to hearing a lot more from you throughout La Liga's season now that it's back. And these are the games you can enjoy. Racing Santander taking on Villarreal, Espanyol Levante, Deportivo against Elche, and Atleti taking on Malaga. Plenty of games to enjoy on ESPN Plus now that Spanish football is back. And then we'll see the big boys in action next weekend, both away from home. Espanyol host Real Madrid, Elche host Barcelona. Our coverage will begin at 3 p.m. for both matches. ABC, ESPN Plus Deportes and the app. And we will have a presence down there for you. Dan Thomas and Alejandro Moreno are putting on their sun hats and heading out to Spain. Here's some of the headlines that we are seeing. Boo flag, public enemy number 1, boo are ya, and Fernandez booed as well. So we need to talk a little bit more about this, Alex Aljo. And Nadim Anua joining us now. Alex, you were close hand at that game. Tell us a little bit more about what was going on with these boos. Was it really as bad as they say?
Well, when I saw him waiting to come on, Enzo Fernandez, I turned to my dad and I said, do you think he's going to get booed? And Dad said, nah, definitely not. And then, yeah, there were a lot of boos as he came onto the pitch. I had to stop my 5-year-old nephew from booing him. I said, it wasn't very nice. But then there were other Chelsea fans singing his name as well. And within a few minutes of him being on the pitch, you realise what a
what were you
top
doing?
player he is. I was enjoying watching Enzo Fernandez at Stamford Bridge still, because he is such a great player, isn't he? And Manchester City would love him.
In regards to those boos, why is he being booed? Why do you think he's being booed?
Well, there was a time last season when Chelsea were in crisis, and he made it very clear that he quite fancied playing at Real Madrid. And then, obviously, his antics during the World Cup weren't great. And then I think, obviously, they realised that he'd like to play at Manchester City as well. So there are various reasons.
Listen, I'm going to put this out there. I know some people don't like him, but if he's going to get booed at Chelsea, I'd happily take him at Man City. So Enzo, if you're watching, my friend, come on, there's plenty of space. You can sleep in the west wing of my house, wherever you need, my friend.
But apart from the booze, it was a brilliant day at Stamford Bridge. It's strange, I must say, seeing Xabi Alonso in the Chelsea dugout. I did say that to you earlier, didn't I? Yeah, it's strange seeing Xabi there.
Yeah, and we look forward to seeing how he'll do, don't we, Alex? But what did you make of these boos, Kieran?
I mean, listen, I think most of it's handbags. I think people are still on a World Cup hangover. And then obviously Chelsea fans from his antics last season. But I think for me, if there's any type of player that can deal with that, it's someone like Enzo Fernandez. In fact, I think he's a player that thrives off of these types of situations, because he's a player that needs chaos in order to perform and go out there. He's one of those players that I've come across them in my career, and I think most people would say that he's not a likable player. But he's a player that wears his heart on his sleeve. He always gives 100%. I think it's a big miss for Chelsea if he does go. And I would say that probably City need a player like him going into this season with the situation that they're in. So, I think City would welcome him. And I think that the boos from the Chelsea fans are not as strong as you get when players get booed. Sometimes you can just feel it's the end and they have to move on. But I don't think this is one of them.
A little bit pantomime, Shaka?
A little bit. And I think part of that is because it's pre-season friendly and doesn't mean an awful lot. And fans are allowed to kind of express themselves now as much as any. You do wonder how many of these fans will be season ticket holders and present for the Stamford Bridge opener. But at the same time, you do kind of understand the fans' perspective, As Alex was talking about 4 or 5 months ago, he wanted to live in Madrid. And you can understand that. Now, you swap London for Manchester, that's a different conversation, even if it is in Needham's West Wing. That's a more difficult pill for Chelsea fans to swallow.
Yeah. So that soft transfer deadline passed yesterday. Obviously, Enzo Fernandez is still at the club, Alex, but there is a lot of talk as to where he's going to land and what's going to happen with Rodri. What's the latest you guys are hearing in England?
Well, we were just discussing the fact that Rodri flew on a budget airline, low-cost airline, queued with everyone else to fly. Man of the people, so humble to fly from Madrid back to Manchester. And you actually said that just sums him up as a person. He just stood there queuing with everyone else.
Yes, in some ways, as he should. We can't all fly around in private jets all the time. Sometimes you've got to get the Ryanair to take you to wherever you need to be, whether you're a Ballon d'Or winner, like World Cup player of the tournament, all that stuff. But for me, I believe that he's going to leave. And I think the bids that are coming in from Barcelona, like Rodri has been quiet. City, relatively speaking, been quiet apart from rejecting those bids. And for the service that he's given to Man City, there won't be many City fans. They'll be sad to see him leave, but they'll understand why he would want to do that, for him to go back to his home country, to go back at the absolute peak of his powers now, and to play for a club like Barcelona with the scale that they have, and the potential success that they want. I think for him it would make sense, and I think as well from a footballing perspective from City. Here's Rodri, who's 30 years of age, and I think it's fair to say that the way the Premier League is going now, like older players, they're slowly but surely being not necessarily moved out as such, but not being prioritised anymore. So I could see that move coming, and if they end up getting, say, £60 million for a 30-year-old player, not only is that good business, yes, it could affect them in the short term, but they'll be planning for their future under the new manager,
What a
Maresca.
World Cup he had as well, right?
Yeah, he wasn't
Unbelievable.
too bad, was he? Yeah, he was excellent, and you know that's why he got the player of the tournament. Obviously, some people will believe it's Messi, maybe one or two others, but he was the heartbeat and the captain of that Spain side. That very much the best team in the world.
Yeah, so what do you think? Enzo coming in? We know you want him to.
I'm just
do you
greedy though.
think
I
he
just
will?
want more and more players. I think just for me, from my perspective, somebody who obviously he has had his issues, but he's got this huge drive and desire to be successful. And I think it's fair to say that he's one of Chelsea's most important players, and by a long way as well.
Yeah.
I think he's also one of those players who came in for big money at the start, but has been justified in the price. So much so that the price tag isn't really concerned anymore, because you understand how important he is for that team. And so if he was to leave Chelsea, it does make them weak. If he comes to somewhere like City, it's not to replace Rodri in a like-for-like type situation, because the two players play very differently. But in terms of like a winner for another winner, somebody that will do everything and sometimes a bit too much on the biggest occasion, you could argue, I'd still love to have him at Man City if he doesn't feel welcome at Chelsea.
I think even though he was booed today at Stamford Bridge, the majority of Chelsea fans, if they were asked, do you want Enzo Fernandez to be playing for Chelsea this coming season, they would all say yes. They would all say yes.
I don't know. I don't know if they would.
I'm pretty sure
it's like I said before. Like, why were they booing him today? Because the point you made about the stuff about Madrid and the rumours and all that stuff, and what he said, that, relatively speaking, is a long time ago. And he played more games after that. He led them out at the FA Cup final. He was not booed there, was not jeered there, and in some ways he was still celebrated at that point. So if this is a case of being booed around the World Cup, that's funny.
Winding up the England fans. He used the song Wonderwall, didn't he, on his Instagram
But he's here
story.
playing for Chelsea, and as crazy as it may sound, not every Chelsea fan in that stadium would have been supporting England in the summer. So
that's true. That
so
is
I'm
true.
not, so I'm
That
not
is a good
100%
point.
sure about that.
Okay, well, I'd like Enzo Fernandez to be playing for Chelsea.
I
this
love it. That's what
season.
it all comes down to. And I'm sure your dad as well would as well, right, Alex? Yes. One thing we've seen is their new signings. Torres coming in. We saw that one happen, didn't we? Ferran Torres from Barcelona, and Mika Götze as well coming in from Ajax. And it would appear that there are no issues on personal terms for both Bradley Barcola to Liverpool for that deal to get done, or Cody Gakpo to be going out on the way to Spurs. But both would depend on financial agreements between the clubs involved here. We're talking about two very different prices for players though here, Alex. Obviously for Barcola it's a much bigger price than we're talking about for Cody Gakpo, so that's quite the drop-off when you look at it financially.
Yeah, quite the drop-off, Kate. What do you think, Nedim, is the better deal there?
To be honest, from my perspective, looking at Liverpool, I think for the last year or so, we've been talking about how the squad feels quite light. And I think it's even lighter this summer. So to have a player leaving, whilst another one's coming, it sort of makes you wonder, like, is it really going to be helping the team in the long term? Because this dude still feels short. And I think Gakpo, for as much as, say, he doesn't get a ton of headlines, I think he was either their top or second top goal scorer last season. So he was effective. And he can play on the left, he can play through the middle. And they need bodies around at this moment in time, with Salah going, with Ekitike being out for a while as well. Somebody to try and support Isak. So I think it's strange that they're allowing a player to leave to another Premier League side. If it's a case of they need to bring some money in, for me, that feels like poor planning. I don't understand why they need to be letting people leave, go out through the door when the new manager in Areola is already saying that the squad, they need more players, they need more. But obviously somebody in Bradley Barcola, somebody that could be great in the Premier League, somebody that could be great for them in Europe as well. One of the shining stars from that French team that we've seen over the last few years. But I don't know. It just feels like a strange deal. And I think from Liverpool's perspective, obviously they were bringing in a really good player with huge potential in the Premier League, but I don't love it. I don't love it just because Gakpo has to leave for it to happen.
That's the reason you don't love it.
That's the reason I don't love it. I think Barcola by himself would be a great sign. I think something
What does
Liverpool
he
can
give
help.
this Liverpool team that they don't already have?
I think when you see the likes of Salah leaving now with that speed and sort of energy on that right-hand side and the goals that he can score, you've got somebody on the left-hand side in Barcola who can go inside, can go down the line. I think some of his finishing can be really good, and his assist play can be good as well. And when a game becomes stretched, there aren't many defenders. I don't know if Kieran you'd agree, or like the way that I see this, I wouldn't want to be coming up against the likes of Bradley Barcola in the final 10, 15, 20 minutes of a game of football.
I think not many people would. Not
Yeah,
many
that's what I
defenders
mean. That's what I mean. So when there's a game that Liverpool need that sort of X factor, I think he's somebody that can provide that. I think, and obviously, he can still work within a system because for PSG, they very much have that.
Yeah.
He's good at pressing. He's got good size about him as well in terms of dealing with the physicality of the football that you see in the Premier League. So I think he'd be potentially a really, really good signing, and with more coaching because he's still only young as well. Something to remember.
Yeah.
Then he can continue to evolve his game to suit the English style of things, I would say. So I do like it in terms of him as a player, and for Liverpool bringing him in. But like I say, I just don't see why it has to be 1 for 1.
No, not having that.
I'm not having
Adam's
it.
not having it, Kay.
Just keep Gakpo. Just keep him.
Just keep them. Yeah, have them both.
Yeah, well, let's talk
why
about
not?
Why not?
Let's
Why
talk
not?
about how it can look financially, because it does look as though Barcola would cost a lot more than they would sell Gakpo off for. The Barcola asking price, we're looking at between 120 to 145 million. Gakpo 70 to 75 million. So the Gakpo sale would cover approximately half of what they're asking for Barcola. So that's why this is coming up.
Well,
why
yeah,
it is.
and from that perspective, at the very least, it makes sense. And while I know it was under a different manager, just remember how much money Liverpool spent last season. I'm with Needham in the sense that having Cody Gakpo in a squad that at times was very thin last season does Liverpool the world of good. The thing for me from a Cody Gakpo perspective is at times he felt like a bit part player, as a squad player. And I feel moving to Spurs, he's treated differently, he's seen differently, and he probably feels differently in his own standing within that squad. So as a player, it makes a whole lot of sense for him to make that move down to London. But again, just kind of using that as the excuse or using that funding to bring in Barcola doesn't do enough or doesn't add up. I'm a huge fan of Barcola. I think he's an outstanding talent. I'm just not seeing the 140, 150, whatever it is PSG are asking. Barcola, for as talented as he is, at times between him and Doué, you weren't quite sure who was going to be the out-and-out starter, and Luis Enrique kind of swapped between the two. So now you're paying 150 million for a player, young player at 24 years old, but who was not a guaranteed starter in albeit European champions PSG. That's a lot of money, in my opinion, for somebody who wasn't a 100% nailed-on starter in the club that he was coming from.
Is he a risk worth taking?
I think he is. I just don't think that there's that many players in the world like him currently. And sometimes you have to take that gamble. Listen, I don't think for a minute that he's going to come in and start producing Mo Salah numbers. But I think in terms of ability, he has what it takes to go and move to the Premier League and become a star. So I think when you have an inflated market, you have to take calculated risks. I agree with Nedum and Xhaka in terms of offloading a Cody Gakpo in order to get this move done. I think Cody was quietly clutch actually for Liverpool last season, and you can't take anyone at Liverpool last season for face value, in my opinion. I think it was such a unique season for them emotionally. With what happened, at the beginning of the season with Jota, and then you had the Salah saga, which disrupted the team tremendously, in my opinion. So for me, I find it a little bit strange, like the guys said, that they would let Cody Gakpo go to Spurs. Great move for Spurs. But yeah, ultimately, I think the risk for Bradley Barcola is worth taking.
Arsenal are favourites coming into this one. They always call it the traditional curtain raiser. But Alex, tell us a little bit more. Tell us a little bit more about what we can expect and what we're looking at for tomorrow's game.
Well, Kay, the last time the Community Shield was played here, the Principality Stadium in Cardiff, was 2006, so 20 years ago. So I can't remember it, of course. Far too young, far too young.
Okay.
But you have good memories of that year.
Okay, Alex. Okay.
Tell us about them.
Yeah, so for me, actually, when I was younger, I used to go to FA Cup finals, and unfortunately, Xhaka, I remember the one that was also here 20 years ago. West Ham playing against Liverpool, and I was in this stadium watching you unfortunately not be able to quite get your fingertips to a shot from quite far out. But you know, this is
Wow.
it's
There's absolutely no need to bring that up. That was just thrown in.
Totally
So
unnecessary.
No.
This is Alex's fault. She told me I needed to say this. She said when you stick the knife in, you twist it and then you pull it out. So yeah, that did happen 20 years ago. But it's good to be back here to see it again. And obviously this game is so interesting just because like if a team loses it, you say it doesn't matter. If your team wins it, of course it matters.
They tend to go on to win the league, the team that loses it in recent years.
Yeah, but then it's a long way to come to say you're okay with losing as well, you know?
This is true.
And I think what makes it trickier as well this year is the fact that it's coming off the back of a tournament again. I think last year you had the Club World Cup, but that didn't affect, say, everyone. But now, you know, from an Arsenal perspective, from Man City perspective, some of your key players have only been back maybe a week.
Yeah.
So how do you really get a feel for like where the team is at? Well, you do that with the players that have been here for the longest, but some of those guys might not necessarily be the ones who are going to be key for the club going forward. But I think for any fan that travels across here, how far is it from the Emirates?
212 kilometres as the crow flies.
Do you know that in miles?
I don't know it in miles.
Okay, no problem. No problem. And I'll tell you, it's a long way from Manchester. So I
It
think
is a long way from Manchester.
so if you get a chance to come here and watch your team do well, City under a new coach as well.
I was going to say it feels strange to say it's Mikel Arteta up against Enzo Maresca and not Pep Guardiola.
Mikel Arteta, the longest serving manager in the Premier League now, I believe. So things have certainly changed around this game in the Premier League itself, and I think from my perspective as a City supporter, it's just going to be interesting to see how Maresca is going to try to do it. You know, obviously I want them to win, but it's just going to be one of those occasions where you just try and get a feel for it, see how they compete against the good side, you know, deserving champions from last year, and sort of get a feel for what this rivalry is going to be like going forward.
And we know Enzo Maresca has pretty large shoes to fill. We're fully aware of Pep's winning mentality that he instilled in that team. Do you think it's more important in a way for Enzo Maresca that he can start the season with a trophy?
Possibly. I think any chance you get to lift a trophy in an occasion like this, like, you know, these are the two teams that are here for a reason. You know, it's not just purely invitation, just randomly done or whatever. So I think it will matter them potentially trying to lift it. And if Enzo Maresca starts this campaign with lifting a trophy, beating Arsenal, beating the champions, and as we saw with the odds there, like City are underdogs. That's been such a rare thing to say across this last 10 years, but City are underdogs for this game. And you can kind of see why based on, say, changes with the manager and so on. So for Maresca, yes, he wants to test himself out. He wants to see whether he can get the best out of the players and do it in a big stadium like this on a big occasion to start the season off. So I think if the City were to win, yes, it would matter. It would matter quite a lot. And I think for Arsenal, it's just different now. Like, it's going to be weird. I'm sure Kieran's delighted with this. Like, Arsenal, no one's talking about them winning the league anymore. They've done it, you know, for 20-odd years. We've been like, yeah, but come on. You know, you've not won the league, have you? But, yeah, it's a different sort of pressure for them. Different pressure for Maresca. And, yes, if City were to win, I'm sure Maresca would be very happy about it. But he's realistic. He's youngish as a manager, but he's not naive. And this is just the start of his journey.
And you mentioned that a lot of those players have played a huge amount of minutes over the summer. They haven't had much of a holiday. Do you think we'll see the likes of Erling Haaland starting?
It's such a
He'll
tough,
want to start, won't he?
Yeah, without question. Yeah, without question. It's a tough one to read that because this is essentially also the last chance they have to play a game before the season starts next week. And you want those players to be available for their first game. I believe it's against Bournemouth next week. So these games do matter, but you don't want to treat it like a pre-season game because it's clearly not that. But I've seen in the past, I think it was 2 years ago, Manuel Akanji played against Manchester United in the Community Shield then, and I think he'd been training maybe 2 or 3 days. And I think even 2 years ago as well, I think some of the United players like Kobe Mainoo, who was playing in the Community Shield after England made it to the final of that tournament as well. So I think for some managers, they see this as being an important game to get the players having a run out and to do the best that they can. And they're arriving with good fitness. You know, they've only had maybe 3 weeks off, some of these guys. So I don't think they'll play. But in reality, from Maresca's perspective, I think we'll get a feel for what he's going to be like as a coach based on the team that he selects tomorrow. Because if he wants to go out and try and win, it might be about picking the players who have actually gone through pre-season. But if he's understanding about, say, getting ready for the season itself, maybe you see some of those more experienced players who maybe aren't at their best. Speaking
of being at your best, Mikel Arteta did say in his pre-match press conference that his players are going to be at their best tomorrow, which is, well, it's hard to believe, isn't it, at this stage of the season when they are tired after long summers at the World Cup. A lot of them, they've got 3 World Cup winners in the squad. But what about Bruno Guimaraes? What a signing. Just how good is that signing?
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant signing. I think you've got somebody who has been key for Newcastle across these last few years as they, would go on to win a trophy to be playing in the Champions League, somebody who was captain of the football club. And I think for you as a team like Arsenal to be able to sort of reinforce your side by signing a Premier League captain, that's a huge statement. And I think to do it, we were talking before about the price of Bradley Barcola and so on, to do it for £75 million, relatively speaking, almost feels like it could be a steal for them. Yeah. You're going to be getting potentially the best years for him. And Guimaraes gets a chance to sort of test himself at the very top of the league again. But you get the feeling he's going to be capable based on what you've seen so far. So, it's a great signing for them. It'll be interesting to see how they manage to do it because, a year ago, all the emphasis on, they've got Zubimendi, they've got Rice, they've got Odegaard.
How do you think they do it? Does he play alongside Declan Rice?
I think he plays alongside Declan Rice. I think come the end of last season and also this summer for Spain, Zubimendi almost became a non-event, which seems crazy considering how, they were crying out for that position, say, a year ago. So I think they will play alongside each other in that manner. And then Arteta, what he's got now and what he might struggle with at some point is having too many options. Yeah. Because, he could go for an Odegaard, could go for an Eze, could be playing a Havertz there.
The squad depth is just ridiculous on another level.
But that's the test, though. That's the test. Because sometimes you can say that this is a great thing to have. Squad depth is brilliant. But how do you manage the disappointment of so many players on a week-to-week basis and sort of keep the momentum and everybody feeling happy as you try and, achieve what you believe you can achieve?
Poor Mikel Arteta.
I know. Cry more for Mikel.
Poor Mikel Arteta.
Poor fella.
Get ready, Alex. You'll be walking in there with a Manchester City celebrity tomorrow. It is a sight to behold.
Yep. Fans queuing for his autograph right now. You can't see that, but they're waiting to speak to him, I think, after this.
Yeah, we've seen it all. So we'll be looking forward to hearing a lot more from Alex and Nader tomorrow from the Community Shield between Arsenal and Manchester City. And Kieran will be back tomorrow for the coverage of that game. So you'll get to hear a lot more from Kieran on what he'll be looking out for with this Arsenal side in this game. Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern. But the coverage will begin at 9:30 Eastern on ESPN Plus, on ESPN2. In fact, it's across the network on ESPN, the FA Community Shield. So that's how things are looking as it stands right now in the NWSL. More to come from the league this weekend as we get to see Washington Spirit take on Angel City, but Gotham riding high at the top of the pile. And there is that game, Angel City against Washington Spirit. Had the pleasure of speaking with Spirit defender Esme Morgan this week. Hopefully you can hear more from her and see more from her this weekend, Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Absolutely delighted that Middlesbrough have won one game. Championship started. Won't come into extra
3
time.
points game. Doesn't matter.
Points. Doesn't matter.
This week, week 12, week 32. Borough.
All of them count, right?
Yeah.
Borough. And one of the 3 Americans starting today. Yes, Sebastian Berhalter starting today. All right, first question. Kay, I am concerned for Xhaka. Wow. Since moving closer, he has worked more often. Please don't overwork him.
I don't worry about that.
Did you send that?
HR.
Let me just see. Who's that? Javi? Don't you worry about that.
He was waiting in his car in the car park yesterday. He didn't know what to do with himself. Honestly, me and Dad left and we saw Xhaka just sitting, staring out the windscreen.
What am I supposed to do now?
Driving around the motorway.
Ah, boy.
Oh, now you've got to listen to like 30-minute podcasts
Right now,
1 hour 30-minute podcast. Oh, Xhaka. It's all changed. Kieran, something you talked about in the show, another 2 goals for João Pedro today. Can someone remind me again why Ancelotti didn't bring him to the World Cup this summer?
That's a good question, to be honest. I mean, not sure why we need to go back to the World Cup now, but I have to agree. I think he definitely deserved a call up for me.
He's looking fresh, isn't he, in the pre-season?
Yeah, I actually I trained with him at Watford in 2023 at Christmas, and I hadn't really heard much about him, but in training I was like, wow, this kid is going to do something definitely. And lo and behold, yeah, he's on fire. I would like to see him have that service from Morgan Rogers behind him, Cole Palmer this year. I think he's really going to take his game to another level.
Another one for you, Kieran. Do you think Arsenal can replicate last year's suspicious run of avoiding any red cards or penalties now that the rules have changed? I don't know what they're suggesting.
I do.
Go on then, Shaq. You
Go
want
on,
to take this
there's Arsenal benefited from a few odd no calls. Let's just put it that way.
I think we've been on the receiving end of enough calls to wipe the slate clean and let the new rules take shape, to be honest.
Right. So here we go.
That's
We've been on the wrong end of calls for the last, from back
15 years.
From back in 1997, we had these really
Don't make me
bad
get the
calls.
catalogue
So now
out.
all of a sudden,
Don't make me get the
now all of a
catalogue
sudden,
out.
25,
Shaq, honestly.
26, it was fine. That's it all came out in the wash 18 years later. Yeah.
Not that you've holding any grudges or anything.
No. That's not me holding grudges. I've just heard the rhetoric from Arsenal fans.
Right.
Oh, you remember that call back in '97? Yeah. Now look. Let me hear what you have to say now. Oh God. Yeah, boy.
1902.
Right.
Right.
This one time.
Not that this will have ever
That's all.
happened to you guys, because obviously we were very fine players who never caused any problems. But how hard, as a player, is it to win the fans back? Do Chelsea fans want Enzo? What about the entirety of the Premier League and England as a whole? Crying, laughing emoji, which you don't see there on the screen. But we can break this question down. Have you been in a team where a player or a teammate of yours has had to win the fans back that they've upset? Because obviously it's never happened to you two.
No, I can't think of being in a
No.
team similarly either, where I had one player who's, for whatever reason, kind of tried to get a move away and it fell through, has then had to win the fans back. I can't think of one.
I don't think I've had one for this particular reason, but I've had. I think Granit Xhaka had a moment where the fans kind of turned on him, and he really turned it round. To be fair to him, but for this particular reason, no. I actually worry more about Enzo at away games, to be honest, than the Chelsea fans. I think, like we said earlier, it's handbags for now until he performs as a Chelsea player if he stays. And fans quickly forget.
Yeah.
So, but I think at other stadiums, he's an easy target now, so that might be interesting.
Okay, we'll keep our eye on it. Shaq, Parma keeper Zion Suzuki's deal to PSG just collapsed, reportedly due to agent's commission. How influential was your agent when making career or transfer decisions?
My agent never got in the way of my transfers. It's his job to see them through, and well, he got paid as part of my payment, as opposed to this kind of third party, or the club paying a third party, was against the rules back then. I'm not saying that it didn't happen, but it was against the rules. Now it's just kind of part of the game. It's been accepted as a part of the game. So you find this happening more times than not. But if my move falls through to a club like PSG, to European champions, because of my agent and his demands, I'm switching agencies. Honestly, because he does not have my best interest at heart. And I want an agent who has my best interest at heart and isn't balancing the two.
Same for you, Kieran?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what happened with this in particular, but a lot of things there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to transfers and things going on behind the scenes that people don't know about as fans. I've heard stories over the years as a player, and it can be a bit of a jungle. It can be a bit of a jungle, to be honest. So doesn't surprise me that something like this has come to light.
Your dream move can't fall apart because of an agent.
Tough one.
It can't.
Tough one to swallow.
It really can't.
All right, Shaka's vacation planner, @Shaka needs more days off, another burner account. When players get in each other's faces after a hard challenge in international competitions and start talking, what language are they speaking?
Yeah, I've often wondered that. I have often wondered that. Who's communicating? What are you saying? I do not know.
Well, if they speak their own language, maybe they won't need to cover. They don't need to
Yeah.
cover their mouth because the other player can't understand.
But In fairness, a lot of players kind of know a little bit of English at least. Yeah, I find that most people, not just players, most people have some command of English, whereas we kind of, not UK, natural English speakers don't even learn the swear words in other languages.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, when you're a foreign player and you come to England, the first words you learn are the worst ones.
To cuss somebody out.
Yeah.
Don't worry, that also happens when you go to Spain.
Right,
They're all
yeah.
swear words. Thank you.
Carlos Vela couldn't speak a word of English, but he knew how to curse.
I love it. Okay, Kieran.
Wait, hold on. What do you think from the World Cup? Javier Aguirre.
Best ever.
We're going. That was
Best
you
ever.
see that?
No.
Oh, he called Gordon. I just cussed Gordon for no reason and started laughing. That was the funniest clip.
So he stops Jude Bellingham and says, Jude, after the game, can I have your shirt? I think it's for like his grandson or something. And so he's speaking to him in Spanish, and then Gordon's there, and he just goes, hey, Gordon. And so he turns around and he says, F you.
I just go,
That's the best bit, how Anthony Gordon took it. And just
yeah.
Brilliant. Obviously, one of the key moments of the World Cup. Including
that one.
everything. Brilliant. Go and look it up.
It's so good. It's
Okay.
So good.
Kieran, did you ever play with a centre-back that was as mercurial as Christian Romero? Is it difficult as an outside back to line up with a centre-back next to you who can be erratic and unpredictable, but can also play great football as well?
Question. I can't think of, I can't really think of erratic and unpredictable centre backs that I played with. The likes of Koscielny, I don't think we can call him erratic. Thomas Vermaelen, he was aggressive, but he was still, controlled. He was predictable. And then, players like Johnny Evans, Per Mertesacker. I can't really think of players similar to this profile, to be honest, that I played with. I'm racking my brain, but I can't think.
I got one. Razor Ruddock.
Oof.
Clean from Liverpool to West Ham. Incredible character in the dressing room. Incredible character in the dressing room. We needed him. But on the pitch, you could get exactly that. You're not sure what you're getting. I mean, I don't know, the game was different then, but would invite a red card as much as anybody, but could play.
Yeah.
But we're genuinely a very good footballer. But, well, erratic, not quite sure.
Like Pepe at Real Madrid.
Oh boy.
There's a few, and same, a wonderful person off the
Yeah.
pitch, you'd never believe it.
Yeah.
And then, that on the pitch. Okay, is Barcelona still your favourite to win La Liga if it does not sign a world-class striker?
I'm going to say yes, but without Julian Alvarez, 51-49. It's that close. I just feel like there's still a lot of questions about Real Madrid. Jose Mourinho, I think, was not a manager, not a football signing, but want to kind of get that dressing room under control a little bit. So I'm leaning twice defending champions Barcelona, but just they sign a Julian Alvarez, that goes 70-30 or something like that.
Yeah, okay. For both, Kieran, how many penalty kicks are you scoring against Xhaka on 10 attempts? And Xhaka, how many are you saving?
Well, I only took 2 penalties in my career. Scored both, but I don't know if the keepers were in Xhaka's prime as good as Xhaka.
I was about to ask, are we talking now? Because I ain't even backing myself right now.
Oh no, he's saving 10 out of 10
I'm
now.
backing myself. I stood up too quickly out of a chair the other day, 2 weeks ago. I've had a stiff neck for 10 days. All I did was stand up. I ain't even backing myself right now. In my prime,
let's say in your prime.
In my prime, I was.
How many pens did you save?
I don't know. I honestly didn't keep count. I wasn't great at penalty saving, but I wasn't bad.
Did you have a technique?
Not really, no. you kind of look at you go on the player. You go on the player.
So you decide in the moment. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
in his run up.
In his run up or
last second.
yeah, pretty much. I wasn't bad. If I had to give a guess now, as in my prime, 10 penalties, I could probably save 4. In my prime. Again, great, but not bad.
So Xhaka doesn't want to live in Reading. And he
I did
doesn't-
not say that.
And he doesn't want to retire to Trinidad and Tobago. Then which ESPN colleague's country would he consider? Spain, England, Norway, Germany, Venezuela, Scotland, or another?
So that just from that list, Spain. Probably
Correcto.
Spain. Huh?
Correcto.
Yes. Sí. Sí.
Tú tienes razón.
I don't know about Shaq in Spain. I'm not.
Sí. Cerveza, por favor.
Whereabouts in Spain would you like to
yeah.
live, Xhaka?
Southall.
Right. So, just realised what you said. Okay, Southall. Okay.
Oh,
So
Would you like to live
Barcelona's on the
Southall,
coast.
Westall, Eastall?
North.
So Spain for Xhaka, although he's going to have to learn a little bit more Spanish. Kieran, where would you like to live on that list? Or is there anywhere else you can think
On
of
that list?
among our colleagues?
On that list there, it's gonna have to be Spain. I think it's gonna have to be Spain. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Norway would be
We
interesting.
could be
actually.
neighbours. Down Southall.
Norway would be interesting. Get the rowing boats up.
Oh yeah, Norway?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Too cold in
Just the
Norway.
winter,
No,
It's too dark
We
in
could
the winter.
we could have we
And
could
then
we could
light all
do
day, all the
Yeah.
time.
do summers in Norway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
But then you might get Jan as your neighbour. That would be fun.
Norway's too cold. Norway's too
And
cold.
too north, though.
And too north though.
Too coldo.
Never mind. Nah. Nope. I'm still a Trinidad boy at heart.
Yeah.
I ain't doing that. It's cool enough here.
It's time out to say goodbye, Al. Good time.
Adios. Mi amigos.
We'll be back tomorrow. ESPN FC.
Hasta mañana.